Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Cavan-Smith. Tonight, after a decade behind bars, former Congolese Vice President Jean-Pierre Bemba is ordered free by judges at the International Criminal Court. In a blow to ICC prosecutors, the politician's conviction for war crimes was overturned last week. Also, there are concerns that violence between Fulani herdsmen and farmers in central Nigeria will keep escalating. Thousands have died in decades of clashes. And renowned conservationist Jane Goodall heads to Uganda to mark the 20th anniversary of a sanctuary she founded there. She doesn't mince her words in slamming short-sightedness in looking after the planet's welfare. But first, judges at the International Criminal Court have ordered the release of former Congolese Vice President Jean-Pierre Bemba. He's been detained by the ICC since his arrest in 2008. In 2012, he received a total 18-year sentence for crimes against humanity committed by a private army he sent into Central African Republic in 2002. Well, last Friday, in a major setback to the court, he was acquitted on appeal after a finding that he was not liable for his troops' actions. Bemba is still a popular opposition figure in DRC. Judges have only ordered his interim release. Stephanie Vandenberg tells us more from The Hague.
He was acquitted in the main case, but while the main case was going on, he was arrested and charged with trying to bribe witnesses in his main case to testify, to put him in a positive light. So he was actually convicted of witness tampering, but that is a kind of a separate case before the ICC with separate judges. And while he has served already 10 years in pre-detention for the main trial, he has only been charged with his witness tampering charge for the last 4.5 years.
So what's your take on the political impact of his release? Bearing in mind that there are a lot of political tensions in DR Congo ahead of elections due this December.
Well, he's still a very popular figure. I spoke to the Secretary General of his MLC party, who says that she hopes that he will return to Congo, that he is the only really person who can unify the opposition, and that it would make a huge impact to democracy if he would return. Obviously, he could return to public life, and it will probably boost his kind of popularity, and the possibilities that he would run for president would increase because he would be a figure returning gloriously. He kind of beat the ICC, so all of that would probably speak in his favor. When we spoke to his lawyer earlier this afternoon, his lawyer said he hasn't lost any political ambitions, but he is taking it one step at a time. He will want to get reconnected with his family first, and won't say anything yet about political ambitions. But I think knowing Bemba and all the political ambitions he had before, it will probably be hard for him to stay away from politics.
Stephanie Vandenberg there for us in The Hague. While staying with DR Congo, its prime minister has insisted that President Joseph Kabila will not run in the December 23rd elections. Kabila has been in power since 2001 and had been due to step down at the end of 2016, after the end of his two-term constitutional limit. However, the Constitutional Court greenlit his staying on until elections could be organised, and they have already been postponed twice. Now, that stoked a sometimes violent political crisis. Kabila's opponents fear that he is manoeuvring to stand for a third term. The WHO says that it is hopeful that the Ebola epidemic in DR Congo is being brought under control. In contrast to past outbreaks, health workers have moved quickly to contain the disease's spread. At least 27 people have been killed since April, but to date, over 2,200 have been vaccinated, and that was over just the last 2 weeks. The contacts of victims are also being painstakingly traced and monitored. The head of the World Health Organization warned that authorities still have to keep the pressure up in the campaign to contain the hemorrhagic fever, but said that there is reason for cautious optimism.
When you compare the two, my visits a month ago, as soon as the outbreak was declared, and now, there are major developments or really good progress in terms of how we're doing with case management, surveillance. So of the active cases are now in Ithipo, and that's why we visited Ithipo. But be it in Ithipo or in other places, there is good progress.
Well, thousands of people have died in long-running feuds between Fulani herdsmen and farmers in central Nigeria. There are fears that the instability caused by the conflict risks escalating to the proportions of the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast. Many are now seeing it as a crucial issue ahead of the presidential elections due next February. France 24's Anna Cunningham reports.
The dead. These are the graves of 2 priests and their 17 worshippers killed last month in an attack on their church in central Benue State. This growing conflict between farmers and herdsmen has seen increasing violence, protests and deaths.
Things that you know that will happen, and you talk about them, and the powers that seems to be are not bothered. This is what the security forces will be able to handle, to prevent and to stop.
At the core of this conflict is land and water. Herders from the north have for centuries migrated to southern pastures to feed and sell their cattle. In doing so, they've encroached on farmland. Now there's more competition for land as the population grows. Peace and reconciliation is difficult.
If you are going to tell an aggrieved person right now that don't do this, they'll ask you, what of my person who has been killed?
The so-called Middle Belt, where Nigeria's largely Muslim north meets the predominantly Christian south, has been a flashpoint for many years. Religion has been blamed, but it's only a part of the story. Weak security and a lack of prosecutions has fueled the violence. These herdsmen are once again on the move.
We have only ever known this land. This land is also ours. Even if we were to find other pastures, most of us were born here in Benue State. It's unbelievable that people can come here and kill our livestock, burn down our houses, and kill the herders who look after our cattle.
President Muhammadu Buhari was elected in 2015 on a promise to improve security. He now wants a second term. How he handles this conflict could determine whether he gets it.
Renowned conservationist Dr. Jane Goodall is asking Uganda's government to do more to protect its primates and their habitats. She recently headed to Uganda to mark the 20th anniversary of a chimpanzee sanctuary she founded there, and she didn't pull her punches in voicing her concerns. Gordon Harrington and Tiff Gravel report.
Dr. Jane Goodall has dedicated almost 6 decades to the study and protection of chimpanzees and their habitat. On her visit to Uganda, it's clear her bond with them is as close as ever. Goodall earned international fame in her 20s when she lived amongst chimpanzees in the Tanzanian rainforest. Her groundbreaking study of our closest animal relatives, guided by paleontologist Louis Leakey, led her to be called the woman who redefined man.
At that time, we, humans, were defined as man the toolmaker. And, you know, when Louis announced that I'd seen chimpanzees using tools, now we have to redefine man, redefine tool, or accept chimpanzees as humans.
At 84 years old, she spends 300 days a year travelling for her conservation work, now mainly focused on teaching children to protect animals and their environment through her Roots and Shoots programme. She says young people tell her they feel their future has been compromised.
I am simply unable to understand some politicians, and they're in many countries now, who don't seem to care about the future for their children, our children. I think they feel they're so powerful, and anyway they're going to be dead. I don't think they've got the ability to imagine what this planet will be like if we continue to destroy the environment.
At the Uganda Wildlife Centre, primatologists socialise chimpanzees that have been rescued from traffickers and poachers. For this younger generation of conservationists, Goodall's encouragement is vital.
We the young people, we the people who are going to take over, we get encouraged. Because if our work is being recognized all over the world, that means even us, if we keep pushing, we have more Jane Goodalls, we can save the world.
In this region, the primate's habitat continues to be destroyed at an alarming rate. For the scientist who's devoted her life to protecting this most human of animals, it's now up to all of us not to let them down.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us. Do so again. Take care.